Cheat Code.
Welcome to Pickleball Cheat Code, the show for competitive pickleball players who want to level up their game. We focus on advanced strategies for experienced players, stuff only the pros really know. I'm Brody Smith. I'm a 5.5 level player and a coach, and I'm here with our co-host, Tanner Tomasi.
Hey, everyone.
Tanner is a 6.0 level player and an APP national medalist. Today, we're covering everything you need to know in order to master the reset in pickleball. At the end of the episode, we're going to be discussing a new carbon paddle that's around the corner, which is pretty exciting stuff. So stick around for that. Carbon is offering a discount code to Pickleball Cheat Code listeners, so be on the lookout for that as well. Tanner, how are we doing? You traveling around more lately, or you finally locked at home? What's going on?
I was actually just at the in the Cayman Islands for a tournament. The guy, it was a crazy thing, but I stayed at this guy's house. He runs Pickleball Cayman, and he has a house with 16 bedrooms, a water slide. It takes 15 minutes to just walk across the whole thing indoors. It's unbelievable.
So you were just in Peru and then Cayman Islands.
Yes.
What's next?
I'm going to Nicaragua next month.
I forgot. You mentioned that previously, but I can't even believe the amount of traveling you're doing. That's insane. Are you ready for that?
I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm trying to just get the surfing in. I'm like a 2.5 surfer.
How did you do going without pickleball? Because I know you took quite the break recently. Did you immediately pick it right back up after your 2-week hiatus?
No, it was a week hiatus in Peru. After the first day, I was good to go. The issue is you're just not getting better. You're just staying stagnant,
Makes sense. All right. Well, speaking of getting better, today we're going to be diving in. We touched on this a little bit before when we discussed transitioning, but we're going to be locking in on resets in pickleball. So to set the stage or to reset, a reset in pickleball is when you're under pressure, usually in the transition zone. And instead of trying to counter or bang it back, you want to hit a soft shot that lands in the kitchen, switches the momentum, switches the point around, and really slows things down and puts things back in your favor. It's not a flashy shot. It's not an aggressive shot, but it's what keeps the rally going, and it's one of the most important shots in pickleball. So a lot of the times, Tanner, question for you to get the ball rolling on this is players will get in these 50-50 situations when they're facing pressure. They don't know if they should rip the ball back or soften up and hit a defensive shot. This can happen at different areas of the court. Maybe you're working in off your thirds. Most commonly for this conversation, you're in the transition zone, or even when you're around the kitchen line, maybe just a step off. What are some key things that you're looking for in situations like this when you're trying to figure out whether you should soften up, reset the point, or apply that pressure?
I think if your partner is out of position, it's probably best to soften up just so if the opponent does get the ball back, you don't get beat. Mm-hmm. Whereas if your partner is in position and a ball comes, I would say thigh height or higher, that's when you want to try and attack and be aggressive. But if it's just below thigh height, so say knee height or lower, that's what I'm going to try to reset because theoretically from that position, I'm going to have to be hitting up on the ball. Yep. When I attack, I want to attack through and down. That way it forces my opponent to hit up. If I'm the one hitting up to my opponent, it's going to be it's just going to be difficult to win. I can't win on that first shot. I'm almost initiating a hands battle, and then I have to clean it up. Where the other way, I can just finish it in one, maybe.
So as long as you're hitting at least a line drive and you're not hitting it any way of an upward trajectory, is that kind of how you look at it? Because, when you're hitting upward too, you're going to be able to get topspin and have a ball land in and apply pressure that way and catch people off guard. But, how do you determine that? Like you said, thigh height, that can mean so many different things, whether you're approaching deep in the transition zone or you're pretty close and, maybe 2 steps away from that kitchen line.
Yeah, if I'm dead in the middle of the court, say dead in the middle of transition zone, and my opponent is taking a ball from below the net height, most likely I'm going to be able to attack that just because it's going to be hard for them to get that up and down. If it's anywhere net height or above, I guess that's another way to look at it. Then I'll try and reset. But if they have to hit up on it, that usually allows me to hit down on it.
Okay, so as long as so net height or above is how you judge it. What about resetting? Because you can also reset in hands battles. A lot of the times people will catch you off with an intense speed up. I kind of hit a reset, a soft block on a lot of those too. I'll consider that a reset as well. How do you determine when to hit those shots? And is that something that you use often, or are you always countering when you're at that kitchen line, no matter the ball?
The mindset that I use is you always want to counter pretty much every ball.
Okay.
The only time you want to reset is if like you're caught off guard or surprised. So like if you're in a hands battle and they hit it like really low to your shins, like say bang bang back and forth 3-4 times, and then on the fifth one it gets to your shins, I just instinctually, along with I'm sure you and probably some of the people listening, instinctually I'll just like soften up. I'm not going to try to attack a ball after we're in a fast hands battle. As soon as it gets low, I just reset it.
That makes sense. I see myself resetting a lot more, even when it's like waist height, especially on the backhand side. And the reason being is, as a lot of people know, my backhand counter is not very strong. If I get on the forehand side or middle, I'm pancaking that ball and putting it away as hard as I can. But if I get caught slightly off guard on the left and I don't feel like I'm going to get my weight rotated around, and it's because of a lack of an area in my game, I'm resetting it and softening it up a lot. And that can throw people off, but I feel like I'm kind of missing out on opportunities there. I don't really know. So
yeah, no, that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know it's okay. All right. Well, let's break it down to, the exact technicalities of it. So everybody does this differently. And I see a lot of different discourse about what the proper form is along the shot. So paddle angles and paddle positioning. Let's say you're anywhere in that mid-court area. What are some keys that you look at for that paddle positioning and that paddle angle to ensure as much consistency as possible and, really high margins on those shots so you can put the point back in your control?
I'm going to let you know. I'll let you in on a secret. It's the secret sauce. It's a new shot.
Is this is this a pickleball cheat code live?
It is.
All right, let's go.
I am taking full credit for it. You're going to love it.
Okay? Oh God, I'm nervous now.
It's my best shot. It's the reset, but this is what everybody calls it here where I play. It's called the bunt. Like all my friends, they call it the bunt.
That's what I've been saying that when I've been coaching for years now, Tanner.
Oh, the bunt.
I use bunting. That's how I frame it for people that I coach.
No. I got to tell you why, though. It's not like a literal bunt. I got to tell you.
Go for it.
This is the key to it. You keep your bottom hand stiff on the paddle. Okay.
Bottom. Okay. So the one that's not touching the net.
Lefty. I'm going to do it righty. So I'm going to keep my left hand stiff on the paddle and my right hand really loose on the paddle. Let me see.
So the one that's choking the neck of the paddle, that part, right? That's closest to the paddle face that's where you're holding it tough. And you're
tough. Yeah. Okay. That way, like the ball like kind of hits and it's like sturdy, but then the top hand's very limp like this. And then it looks like you just bunt it right when it hits off your paddle. It's the most effective shot ever. That's how I hit all my resets now.
Every reset is the same strategy, essentially.
If it's in front of me low, and I can catch it out in front, obviously if I'm expecting it low and it like comes into my stomach, then I'm going to just tighten up everything. But if I can read it, it's just like this, like bam, like just like that.
Okay. And then what's the soft hand doing? Is it adjusting the angle of the ball?
Yes, this is what it does. I'm going to explain it right now.
Break it down.
That soft hand allows it to be so when it hits off your paddle, it's like more line drivey back, where if you keep both your arms stiff and your paddle angles up, the ball's like lofty and they can just reset the next one. But I'm hitting like line drive resets. That's like, it's unbelievable.
Well, let me push back on that. A line drive reset. Don't we want our resets? At least this is how I teach bunting, is we create the consistent angle. I usually teach like a 45-degree angle, and this is how I hit all of my resets. So we're coming in, I plant the ball. If I'm in that midcourt and I know they're going to be hitting relatively down at me, I'm setting this 45-degree angle right here for the paddle, and then I'm letting the paddle do the work. And then the bunt is just using like our legs and our butt to hit the ball, and we're just kind of shifting that way and not adding any effort into it. And then the goal, obviously with the reset, instead of a line drive, I like the bunt to be able to arc over the net and then drop into the kitchen line, forcing them to hit up on the ball. So I just want to clarify what you mean by line drive.
I think with mine, my bunt works best with if it's like a short hop. That's what like I can kind of line drive it back.
I see.
If they're hitting it and I'm like catching it out of the air, I do. I got to change what I said. Off the short hop, I like to like bunt it with the limp wrist. But as soon as like I catch it out of the air, it does have a little bit more arc. But if it's short hops, I kind of like line drive it back. But it's so effective because it actually puts them on defense, and then we crash the net and we're on offense.
Okay. Where is that ball going to land in theory if you're short hopping? If the opponent's not there, like where would that ball drop? And is that going to land in the kitchen, or is that still?
Yeah, it lands like right near the kitchen line. And then they like try to get it out of the air, but they can't. They step back.
So then what's your paddle angle different? How is it different from out of the air versus short hop specifically? Because for me, out of the air, I'm doing that 45-degree angle.
Out of the air, more trajectory.
And then when I'm going off the bounce, I'm going completely 180 or whatever you want to call it, 90-degree angle flat. And I'm letting it backboard and creating like a wall. And it backboards off the wall. And then automatically like the spin rotates back over.
I would say that's accurate. Yeah. Out of the air, more up. When it bounces, more flat.
Okay. We're on the same page. I thought I was going to lose you for a second. All right. So the bunt is yours. Are you saying it's yours?
No, I swear nobody hits a shot. I haven't seen one like person.
So what do players do differently than what you're doing then? Because I mean, so the difference is you're applying that loose hand on the back, and then you're pushing forward versus just not moving at all.
Other people like slice it. Other people like I don't know. Just the form on the bunt, it looks so. It looks good.
It looks good.
Promise you.
Because you just let the paddle do the work and you're putting in less effort, which I think is the key to pickleball in general. You know, less effort, less movement is always more, right? So, I mean, that's key for all of your shots. So many people will try to add extra swing into it. They'll try to slice it. So many people do a slice out of the air too, which drives me nuts. I don't get that because I feel like that your timing has to be perfect for it. I see a lot of tennis players do it, and it looks cool. I'm not going to lie. It looks slick, but I feel like it's risky, and it's not something you can rely on. Whereas with the reset, if you're applying those simple paddle angles and your balance is set and you're getting your weight behind the ball, and then you're applying that bunt methodology that you just described, I feel like that is the number one key to success, to that consistency, is letting the paddle do the work and making sure that, you know, like just in baseball, like you're picking up a ground roll ball, that you're getting your chest behind it. You know, if you're catching a ball too, we want to get our chest right behind that ball. So if I see it coming to the left, I'm sliding, keeping my chest forward to the left side, and then same thing on the right side. So that's kind of how I like to think about it too. Like I'm playing defense.
That's a good way to think of it, I think.
Okay, then so now that we discussed angle, the other part of the paddle angle is, I've seen you do a video on this, and I hit it differently. You have your paddle like parallel to the ground when you're hitting these shots, I feel like, right? Isn't that how you do it?
Only if it's outside on your backhand side.
Okay. So
outside your backhand side leg.
So if you get pulled, what about forehand side? Same thing?
No.
If you get pulled wide?
I guess I have it sideways, kind of. Yeah, I do have it sideways, yeah. In between the legs, though, down.
Okay. So paddle tip angle depends on if you're getting pulled out wide left or wide right on that reset. It's going to be more parallel to the ground. But anything that's straight in front of you, are you directly 180 degrees paddle tip down, or do you have a little bit of an angle on yours? Mine's like slightly angled.
Maybe, I don't know if it matters. Maybe a slight
it doesn't really matter. And then what's your grip on that too? It's the same bunt grip, right? And then you have that soft backhand, tight on the top, wrist locked, right?
Yeah, I just not tight, but just like stiffer. And then the top hand, which would be my dominant hand, is loose.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like limp.
All right, that's the pickleball cheat code of the day. I love it.
I think it is. I know this probably makes no sense to some people, but
I think it will. We'll do some social media clips on this, and we'll break it down. Are you even a baseball guy? Where'd you get that from?
I grew up playing baseball.
Yeah, just like the usual. Just played till 8th grade and then stopped, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't make the high school team. I got cut.
Tanner, no. Well, that's why we're here doing paintball, pickleball, and surfing. You know, those are the right things to switch to. All right. So for resetting, I have some do's and don'ts that I prepared that I wanted to run through to make sure that, you know, we're getting the proper message across of what's important and what's not important. So focusing, and this applies to whether you're doing a reset back towards the baseline or resetting really close to the kitchen. Some do's are that we already talked about are softening your grip, relax. Whenever we're in that transition zone or hitting any sort of reset, making sure that we have that calm mind, calm body, and we're not getting too tense, because that's when extra movement comes in and that's where your shot gets thrown off. It's way better to be, you know, very lackadaisical, if that's even a word, and let the ball just land short. You know, missing short on a reset is better than missing high. In some sense, obviously you don't want to just hit in the net, but I see way more errors where people are just popping these up 80 times in a row and they're never missing short. Obviously, when we get to higher level play, you're going to want to find the happy spot there, that happy medium. But I see way more pop-ups than I do soft shots. Stay on balance. That's something that we also broke down as well. And then getting your weight under the ball, having the mindset of making sure that your butt, your hips, your chest is getting under that ball and you're putting pressure in an upward trajectory, I think is so important versus like hitting flat at it or coming directly at the ball. I feel like that changes everything.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there.
And then some of the don'ts, let me know if I'm missing anything here, is swing at the ball. I see players try to swing all the time. Only swing at it if you're getting a ball that's going 2 miles an hour and clearly you need some effort into it. But if anything, we're going to be stepping our body and letting our body hit that shot more than anything. Don't try to add spin. When players are trying to add spin, that's where you have to get really good timing. It might be flashy and you might hit it cool every once in a while, having heavy top spin or something, but I just don't think it's very worth it at all. Another key don't is aim for small margins. When people are resetting, they'll go for this like crazy angle cross court, or they're going to reset with some perfect lob or whatever it may be directly over the middle at the inside foot. Let's just go get the ball over the net, simplify the process, and just get really high margins. If you hit it really high, that's okay. As long as it's landing in the kitchen and then they can't hit down on it, that's as simplistic as you need to make it.
Right.
Standing upright, another don't. We discussed the importance of how it is to get low. And then, like we said earlier, adding any extra movement, less is more.
Right.
Anything that I missed there?
I don't think you missed anything.
Let's go. Home run. I'm adding another baseball reference there. Bunts and home runs today.
Good.
Okay, so let's say you're getting drilled with a hard shot at you. I want to help determine when to hit directly at the opponent. Like, let's say somebody's giving you a really intense shot, right? And it's not your typical reset. Some resets are pretty easy and they're not too hard to get back in the kitchen. When are you just kind of deflecting and hitting it back at your opponent versus hitting that perfect reset, going for that middle shot and hitting, working into the kitchen? Because a lot of players do that. I'll see pro matches and they find ways to extend the rally. They'll be getting a really tough shot and then they just hit it directly back. It's kind of like a panic bailout shot. I touched on this with Elise Jones when we recorded previously too. So wanted to get your thoughts there because that's something that I struggle with. I see myself always going for the perfect reset or the perfect drive. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if it's coming super hard, like you're saying for the example.
Yeah, it's just a tough reset to hit well.
I'm not thinking too much. I'm just trying to just get it back. If it's high, it's fine. I'm just trying to not miss it into the net. It's when it's like I said, like net height or like slightly below or slightly above. That's when I'm like trying to do the perfect reset, more cross court, maybe towards like the cross court player's inside foot.
Yeah.
Just since the net's 2 inches lower. But if it's
that makes sense.
If somebody's hitting like an overhead or something, I'm just trying to get it back.
Yeah, I guess, you're getting an overhead, you're mid-court. And so when you say you're trying to get it back, what are you trying to do specifically? Just drill it at them? And are you just trying to hit out on the ball? Or, is there a certain spot you're aiming for in those bailout moments? Or maybe lobbing it is a successessal strategy.
Yeah, if somebody's really cranking it, I'll try to reset like the first one back like to the other person, just so that, because that one person's in rhythm. So I try to like hit it to the other guy. So then the other player steps in front and maybe there's some confusion. Say that happens, but the same guy stays with it and cranks it again. I'll either try to drive it back or try to lob it and then drive it and then reset it. Almost like a third shot pattern. If they're ripping it at you, you drive it and then drop the next one.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, because I see people just like, they'll be back and they're just drilling it at the team and they're waiting for their moment to find that proper reset where a lot of players just go for the reset right away. Maybe they're off balance and they're reaching, and instead of just smacking it back, they'll try to go land it in the kitchen. So that's something that I need to work on more, is finding when to do that. Because I think players miss out on that a lot too, of like when to hit your defensive shot versus going for that drop, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because I noted some things on like when not to reset specifically is, when you're completely set at the kitchen. And this is what we talked about earlier too. When you're completely set and you're locked in, I think this is what you touched on as well. That's when we're not resetting. That's a point to counter. It's better to counter or get a roll in there too. And then if your opponents are ever out of position, like if you're in a transition zone and maybe the team is shifted based off how you're playing mixed, for example, go for the angle there. I know I said don't go for the angle as much in other instances because we want to go high margins. However, going for angles in those instances make the most sense. And speaking of angles too, your reset, you're like you said, you're going for the middle more than anything, right? You're not going to be going like straight ahead to avoid getting ernied, for example.
Yeah, I always try to go diagonal to the inside foot.
Ooh, diagonal inside foot, because that's where people are just going to get jammed the most often, right?
Just like the net's lower, more distance for you to get it in. It gives you the other person.
I feel like they're not as able, not as it's not as easy for them to create offense from that position too, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends if you're on the left or the right. Like if you're on the left and you're going to the left to left, then it's like to the guy's forehand. But just with the net being lower, I think it's best to do it that way.
Here's a quick segue from that. Here's a situation that I see myself get into often. I have a preference, and I see players struggle with this all the time. Let's say you're in the reset transition zone. You want to go for a reset. You're getting a ball that's coming into like the gutter zone, right, in no man's land, and you're stuck in the middle of, and you know, people still make this mistake all the time because in a match it's hard to catch up and find what to do at the right moment. Would you rather be stepping forward and trying to catch that ball out of the air if it's like right in the middle of your decision-making pattern, or would you rather take a little baby step back and short hop? For me personally, I'm always leaning back, making sure my weight's forward, right? But I'll take a little step back and I try to short hop. I feel like I'm more comfortable with a short hop than out of the air. But then I also see other players stepping forward and taking it out of the air all the time. So I don't really know what is the most optimal and what's the most consistent in the long run.
I've asked like top PPA players this exact scenario, and they say it's preference. I know for me, it's I prefer to short hop it just because I have a really good reset. Taking it out of the air, like from your shins, is probably more difficult. So I'd say I try to avoid that, but some players like that. If I can short hop it, I like to short hop the resets if possible.
That's how I see it too, because we're both doing the bunt. You know, it's easier to bunt off that bounce. I feel like off the bounce too, there's less action happening as well. For example, somebody might hit a really heavy topspin shot, and if you're trying to catch that out of the air, that might dip really hard at the last second. But if you're trying to short hop it, you get another quarter second of being able to read where that ball is going to land and then be able to catch it and put your paddle right there. And when you're going for that short hop, a lot of the times I see people will step into it and, you know, like try to push the ball at it too aggressively. But like you said, with that bunt, we need to make sure we're square, lined up with the ball, and just barely moving forward and letting that paddle do the work.
Right. Yeah, exactly it.
Love it. Okay. I feel like we covered it. I feel like we broke down resetting really well. Anything else that you want to touch on before we transition to the end of the episode here, Tanner?
No, I think that's everything. We really covered it all.
All right. Well, a lot of people have been hyped about this. This has been getting a lot of traction. I'm not sure, full transparency, what day this episode will be releasing in terms of when our next paddle shape will be releasing. But we do have the TruFoam Genesis 4 shape around the corner, which is super, super, super exciting. I've been maining it. It's been my baby since I got it this past month. So I can't wait for this to go out to the public. Tanner, I know you got your hands on it pretty recently. Essentially what this is, and it's something that people have been asking for a long time. This paddle is a true hybrid shape of the new TruFoam, and it has an arrow curve top. So the hand speed and the build of it is just optimized entirely for swing weight and twist weight, allowing you to have crazy hand speed, whether it's off the balance and you want to drive with it, or you're in a hands battle. That thing just cuts through the air like butter. So I've been obsessed with it. I know you got it recently as well, but I haven't chatted with you about it yet. So I wanted to get your thoughts there.
Yeah, I've actually been loving it too. It's very noticeably faster in the hands. It's really neat to see that it's like that. I was thinking that I should almost put more weight on it because it's that.
That's what I'm seeing. I was thinking the same thing. So I put the same amount of weight that I used for the 2, that square shape, and because the hand speed's a little lower on the 2 shape, but the 2 has a sweet spot that's just giant. But I'm noticing I'm getting a lot more power with the 4 and way faster hand speed. So now I feel like I can
too.
A lot more spin, especially on those drives and everything. So it's been so fun to play with. What do you think? How much more weight do you think you're going to add, and where are you going to try it?
I don't know. I'm still messing around with it, but I just took it off my 2 and put it on the 4, and it does feel light. It's like
It feels light.
insanely quick. Like in the hands battles,
It's
I feel like
lightning.
I have an extra like half second on the people. Like it's just unbelievable in that sense. I also like it too, where I think the advantage it has over the 2 shape, just because that's what I've been using, is with the top curve like that, it's way easier to get around the ball. So I've been loving it for singles, and then also just like speed ups and dinking in general. I think it's almost like better. It's just you have to make the trade off. Do you want that where like it's basically more of like it's more versatile in every aspect. However, the sweet spot's smaller. So I'm a right side player. Do I want, you know what I mean? Do I want to be able to create, or do I want super consistency?
Yeah. And since the sweet spot's a little higher up too, I notice I'm so used to just making every single reset with the 2, speaking of resets, with that square shape, since it's like that shield like we talked about. So the resets were a little easier with that, but then you have that trade-off of getting like a way better roll.
Reach too.
You get more reach. Yeah, it's small, but it's just enough. And then it's easier to get that 2-hand backhand as well with the over neck. So it's been fun.
It's a really cool shape.
It's a cool shape. I'm excited for it. And then, so hopefully we don't have to bleep this part of the episode out, but really excited to finally get, that out in the wild there, which would be exciting.
I agree.
All right, Tam. Good chatting as always. Much love. You have a great night, sir.
See ya.
See you, Tam.